Okay, men, we're back here at Divorce to Dominance. We're back to afternoon workouts for probably this week or maybe even next. My son's basketball has this last week, and that'll be it for that. And that's what'll start to really force me into the mornings. I know I did it last week, but if I don't have to do the mornings, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't want to. Those ones are a little rough. It's harder for me to get up and get going and get everything moving along. But having said that, myself proper here. Starting off on the new cycle of workouts here, which is nice. Mm. um, that wasn't very graceful, was it? But anyways, uh, so this week we're going to talk about, or well, not this week, but today we're going to talk about just kind of figuring out who it is that you're working towards, and how do you even know where to start to like figure that guy out, figure that man out that you're wanting to be or who you're going to be, and really just the overall understanding of what that means to be working towards that future person, that future human that you're looking for. This really all just comes from a question I got yesterday, and one of my one-on-one clients sent me a message late in the evening, actually, and asked a very solid question that made me think, and that's what inspired today's video. But the question was just, how did you even get started heading in the direction, to where you are right now in your personal life, and growing towards that future person, the brushstrokes, the painting every day within the frame. It took me a minute to answer that. I had to think about it and really get clear on it. I always had a decent idea in my own head, but to like verbalize it once asked, sometimes a little more difficult than you think. But after taking a moment, I really started to realize that it really came down to, in the very first moment, was understanding kind of just who I was right then. When I say was and then, I mean, a divorced man who had his whole life flipped on, turned upside down, right on his head. And I really didn't know where I was going or what I was shooting for. So I had to get very clear on who I was right there in that moment, because how would I know where I was trying to go or what direction I was even trying to head if I didn't even know where I was starting from? Also, at the same time, how would I ever be expected to understand how to even create that future person, that ideal outcome that I was wanting? Like, I didn't even know how to picture him. I didn't even know what it meant to do that, because I didn't know what I was right now. I didn't even know, what I was in that moment. So when it came to that, that was my first step. That's when I knew right then, okay, well, if I'm heading that direction, where the hell am I starting? So I got super clear on that. I got very vulnerable with myself. I had to verbalize a lot of things that I, quite frankly, avoided verbalizing. I didn't want to say it out loud because I felt like it would make it real, which it did. It was very important. I wrote a lot of things down. I recorded some audio on my phone just so I had these different layers whenever inspiration struck. But I got very real. So that was the first step. And for me, it was, okay, who am I right now? Like, in every aspect. Okay, just, I'm a man who is now divorced. No wife, no girlfriend, no prospects, no nothing. A single man with 3 kids. 3 kids, all under the age of 10 at the time. Okay, I'm clear on that. That's all I am. Okay, you're a man that what? I'm a man that doesn't have a home. I'm a man that has a job. Still had a job, of course. The divorce doesn't mean you lose your job. But I'm a man that has a job that has no home. Okay. Had to write that down. A man that doesn't have any structure right now. I'm a man that doesn't have any goals. I'm a man that doesn't have any future. At that moment, I didn't feel like I did. It's kind of embarrassing to say right now, but it's the reality of it. I was a man that didn't have the physical body that he wanted or that he saw that he should have. I was a man that didn't have the bank account that I thought I should have. Again, like we've talked about in past videos, there's a lot of, scarcity mindset happening. All of a sudden, for some reason, you instantly think you're broke because you went through a divorce. That's not the case. Like, get that shit out of your head right now. That's something that was huge for me too. That's all. We will be talking about that, but just get that out of your fucking head. All right. The world's going to tell you you're fucked. The world's going to tell you you're broke. The world's going to tell you how you're going to lose it all. And oh man, you had all this fucking money, now you have none. That's bullshit. It's not that bad. Yeah, it's going to cost some money to do some things. Who gives a fuck? It costs money. Everything costs money. It costs time. Time's the more valuable thing. Money comes and goes. You get a job, you get it, and you spend it. That's all there is to it. So that's irrelevant. Don't fixate yourself on that. It's a huge, huge problem a lot of people deal with. They get so stuck on the money side of things, and it's one of the biggest killers in this spot. Anyways, again, it's a whole nother spot or another story, but for me, those were all the things I had to tell myself. Okay, that's who I am. What am I working towards? Well, honestly, in that moment when I was writing this down, it was nothing. I wasn't working towards anything. I didn't have a goal. I hadn't done any of this stuff. I hadn't done anything. So I started to realize that, oh shit, that makes sense. It makes sense why I'm not, further along than I am in the moment. But also, it made sense of why I didn't know where the fuck I was going to go. I didn't know what I was shooting for. I had no clue what I even wanted. I didn't know. So once I got step one down, I wrote all those things down of who I was in that moment. Also, something else I didn't mention, who am I professionally? I said, I'm a man that has a job. Okay. Well, what is that job? I was an electrician. I work construction and I did some stuff online, but predominantly I was an electrician. Okay. That was part of that. Okay, perfect. Okay, I got that. That's something that happened. So I wrote that down. That was my skill set. That is what created that, that brought in the funds to live. That's where I got my my income from. So from there, I started to say, okay, well, where do I want to go? What do I want to be? So, and again, this all came from just that client of mine asking that question of just, how the hell did you know where you wanted to go? Like, what was your direction? So that's where I started. So always keep that question in the back of your head. That's where this started, was that question of how did you know? What was your path? Well, number one, I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't know. Because I didn't hear this that I'm giving you today in an order. It was just kind of bumblefuck my way through it all. And it took time, like way more than I'd like to admit, but this will cut it down. So once I labeled all that stuff down, I said, okay, well, I'm the man that, let's be real, I'm homeless. I'm a man that's homeless. Okay, well, what am I going to do to get past that? What does the man that I want to be, what does he have? Does he have a home? Yeah, dude, that guy's got a home. Okay, what's that home look like? Well, it's got enough bedrooms for you and your children. Okay, well, what's enough bedrooms mean? Is it one for each of them? Do a couple of them share? Does that mean it has the bedrooms right now, or does it mean that you can build on? What is all that? So I got super, super clear on the house. What does the house need to be for my situation, for the future? Now don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that you can or can't write down the dream house. You can write down the absolute top end house that's the dream house, if everything was amazing and you were making an insane amount of money. You can do that because it creates the path. For me, again, I'm just going to tell you how I did it because that's what I did. This is the one I can speak on. I've been through this. In my pre-divorced life, I'd done this same exercise with myself once before, and it was the dream house. And it was the if I didn't have to worry about money house. And I'll be honest, I got it. I landed there and I had it. But one advantage that I had in this situation is I had the dream house. Now, most people would say this is a disadvantage. Wow, you went from that beautiful giant home on all that land and all that property and having all the outbuildings and all the possibilities you could ever want. You had that and you lost it. And here I am speaking to you about one of my advantages to that situation. Isn't that weird? But it is. One of my advantages in my situation was I had the big house that had everything I ever wanted, that was on my dream list. I lived in it. I owned it. I did that. I had it. So for me, it wasn't I had, how do I say? I had the perspective of having the big house, the dream house in the past. And I realized while I was living there, even though things weren't great, that is the house that me and my now ex-wife lived in and where things started to really fall apart. But I didn't, it gave me the perspective of a large house. We had so many rooms we didn't even touch. You know what I mean? We had 3 kids in the house. So it's not like we owned the house and then, didn't have the kids and had too much room. It's like we had the 3 kids. I did all this stuff there and it just didn't, it became very aware that was very not needed. Does that make sense? I got to see what it was like to have that and just realize that, holy shit, I don't need this. The land, I can honestly say I wish I had that land still. I wish I still had the barn. But, spoiler alert, I bought a house that has land to be able to build a barn. I haven't built a barn yet. Things change. But the house itself was huge. It was massive. And the only thing I really liked about that were 2 things. Number one, when I pulled up there at the end of the driveway and drove all the way back to our house on a private drive, that feeling was pretty cool for the first while. And then after a while, it became just my house. But it really came down to when people came over, which was not very often, they would tell me how beautiful the home was. And that was where I drove most of my joy from. Which I'm going to tell you right now. Not that you can't have that as your driving goal, but it's just not. You're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you're doing all the stuff and the things and acquiring all the random, assets or liabilities, whatever you want to call them, crap, to just have everybody else high five you and tell you how badass you are, you're doing it wrong. I promise you that. I can guarantee that will not end good. You will be struggling to make yourself happy at the end of the day because you're too busy worrying about how the perception of your things make other people feel about you. So don't get lost in that. Another thing is, like I said, that was my advantage, was having that house and understanding that now. So I knew the house-wise, though, I could lay out the type of house I wanted and what I needed. I needed bedrooms for my kids. That's it. I wanted the standard stuff, living room, kitchen, this many bedrooms. And for me, it was 3. 3 total bedrooms was what I wanted. Now you might be asking yourself, yeah, but I thought you said you had 3 kids. I do have 3 kids. 2 boys and a girl. Guess what? I grew up in a small house, and at times I shared rooms with my brother. Now, not all the time, but actually my stepbrothers. And because I grew up in a divorce house myself. And honestly, even though me and my stepbrothers did not get along great, it wasn't a big deal. Like I didn't care. There wasn't a single moment that I thought, oh man, I wish I had my own room. Like in the sense of truly needing it. Yeah, out of convenience, there were some times I thought it'd be cool, but it just wasn't the thing. So I knew I didn't have to have 4, 5, and 6 bedrooms like I used to. So I wrote that down, just that house. So I knew the type of house I was working towards. I guess I'm kind of getting off track. I'm getting too specific about the one thing. The goal was to write down the house and how am I going to get there? What am I going to do? How am I going to be able to get to that? So I knew that was it. So then I started making a plan. I started looking for that type of house. That was step one. That was the thing, okay? Now, again, this guy's question was about how did you go for who you are today? How did you know you were heading down the right path? How did you know what to do? How did you know where to head? That was just a small piece. From there, again, now going backwards, I looked down a list. As a man that didn't have the body I thought I should have. Okay, what's that mean? Well, I gotta work out. I gotta get physical. I gotta get moving, right? And when I'm moving, I want to eat better. So I had to do those two things. So I started learning. I started, sharpening honing in on my skill set, trying to say, okay, well, I'm a personal trainer right now. Like I already know how to do all that. How can I get better? Get specific to men, right? In a certain age group, because that's what I was. And that's just where I started diving in heavily. I didn't worry about the fads. I didn't worry about all the random crap. I just did the things that worked, that had science behind it, that made sense, and that had studies. And what do you know? My body started coming around. My nutrition started working. I got into a level of fitness that I had never reached before. And that was only because I decided that I needed that. So I headed that direction. So now physically I'm starting to come around. Mentally I'm starting to get better because I'm looking for the house that I want. Started doing things. And what do you know? The things you start looking for are the things you start seeing. How weird is that? Not weird at all. So I found the house. Made a plan to get it. We can talk about that again later. The exact how I acquired it and how I got this house specifically. This was the first one I bought. This is what I'm still in. We can go over that. If somebody wants me to elaborate on that, you can put a comment down there in the bottom of the video here and let me know that you do want to see that or hear that. That's cool, but I think it's kind of boring personally, but whatever. A little unique. But I started doing those things. And then when it came to be, my job was an electrician. What do I want to do? Well, like I said, I dabbled in the online space. I was a personal trainer. I did a lot of those things. I did some software stuff, but predominantly I was an electrician. So I started saying, what do I want out of my career? Well, I want more time. I want more time to myself. Okay. Well, what's that mean? I probably need to learn how to work from home or create my own business or start to leverage my funds to be able to do more or make more or, have more time, however you want to leverage that. So I started learning those skills, the skills that I didn't have to make more money out of the time that I had. Started sharpening those skills. But as those skills started getting better, that's what led me into my next space. Started letting me realize what I could and couldn't do. Which gave me the ability to start looking at different places. And that was really the big spot, okay? So the early part was getting clear on who I was right then. That was the very, very first step. That was the one that had to happen before anything else. But this one here specifically, as I started to create myself physically and get my surroundings set up better, this is the one that started to allow me to move into different spaces. It allowed me to start to enact different things that led me to where I am today. I started learning the other skills towards things I enjoyed or things that I thought would lead me towards what I overall wanted. Now, overall want is just such a vague thing. I should say I wanted more time to myself to earn more money to spend time with my kids. It's very vague. There is no job description there. There is no how many days. There's no dollar amount, none of that. But there was some clarity there. Okay, I either need to earn more money so I can take more days off, or I need to be able to leverage my time better, like working from home, doing certain skills that don't take me being at an office. Like it started to gear me towards it. So that was my first deals. Okay, cool. So I'm going to lean a little heavier into this online training thing because that is something that I can do from home. That while it does take a lot of time, I'm gonna be real with you, because the kind of attention I like to give my clients is a little more than most. It's not just a copy and paste situation that, hey, here, everybody gets this. But it allowed me to be here. It allowed me to be in these kinds of moments. And I could handle a question. I could handle an objection. I could handle anything that somebody had because I wasn't tied to a physical space. But that's what started to shape me. So that's kind of where this, I'm going to pause because there's something very important in this moment that goes right back to, again, I want to keep jumping back to the original question so we can keep everything tight and pulling from that thread. But it's, how did you know where to go? How did you know what you wanted to do? How did you create who you are now? Like, how did you know you wanted to do this? I'll be honest with you, I didn't know. I didn't know that I wanted to do this specifically. And honestly, I don't even know if I'll be doing this specifically later. It's just letting it evolve into what it is and letting myself and my intuition and my passions kind of shine through and lead the way a little bit more than I usually do. But okay, so in this one spot now, one thing that helped me, it took me a minute to write this down. It took me a minute to write this down because I didn't know how to word it. But man, one of the best ways you can think of this, and again, I'm pausing right here for a reason, but one of the best ways you can think of this is really any job at all. But the best one was that I came up with is just a lumberjack. What makes a lumberjack a lumberjack? Well, somebody say, well, he goes down there and cuts down trees. Yeah, but that's not it. Listen, a lumberjack is just a man walking through the woods, just arbitrarily walking if he doesn't have an axe. You see what I'm saying? Like, I hope that makes sense. Like, a lumberjack is nothing but just another person, another one of us, another one of you, another one of anybody at all without an axe. The axe is what allows him to cut the tree down. The axe is the tool that makes him a lumberjack. It's not the clothes. It's not the fact that he's out in the woods. It's not the fact that he's a man. It's the fact that he has an axe and uses it to cut down the tree. That axe is the single tool. It is the skill that he has to know to become the lumberjack. Now, the reason that is so important right now is that that's what, all the way back to the beginning when I said I had to get clear on who I was right then in that moment because I didn't know who I was trying to be, so I had to get clear on who I was then. That was it. What skills did I have? Well, I was a man that wasn't in the physical shape he thought he should be. What tools did I have? Well, I have tools in my head. I have the skills to do it. I just wasn't doing it. I wasn't wielding it. I wasn't using them. Again, I'm the lumberjack walking around the woods. I had the axe, actually. I was walking around with it. I wasn't applying it. I was a man without a house. I was a man who was homeless with children post-divorce. Well, why was I homeless? How do you buy a house? Well, I know how to buy a house. Base level, you find a house, you go to a bank, get a loan. If they approve you, you get it. And you find what house fits in your goals. Okay, cool. Do you have the knowledge to build a house? Do you have the skills to buy a house? Sorry, not build, buy. Can I do that? Yeah. I have that axe. Why aren't I doing it? I'm not using it appropriately. I just have the axe sitting there. I have the tool sitting there. That's it. Okay. So what now? Well, what was next on the list? Well, I'm a guy that wants, a job that has more time, has stuff. That's a big one. Again, there's a reason I'm stopping on that one. That's a big one. Currently, I'm an electrician. I know how to do that job. I know how to make that money. But that job has to be at a physical place at a certain time every single day, 5 days a week minimum, 40 hours a week. If I want to do that other job that creates freedom, what do I need? I don't have the skills for that. I don't have the skill set. I don't have the tools. Okay. Go figure out what the tools are and learn them. Get that first tool. So I did. That's what I did. Now, sticking with that same lumberjack theme, walking around in the woods with an axe is step one. You're swinging that axe, right? Well, think of each time you learn a new skill towards that subject as sharpening that axe. You're sharpening that blade. It takes less cuts to get that tree down. You're refining your tools. Each skill you learn or perfect, you're getting deeper and deeper in the knowledge base. And your axe is getting sharper and sharper and sharper. But now, once you've hit that point, you think, okay, well, this axe is only going to get so sharp, right? Now just think about it even layer deeper. What? That lumberjack might have been able to cut down 5 trees in the day. That's it. Five full-size trees with that axe when it's at its best, when it's at its sharpest. Well, guess what? You give that lumberjack a chainsaw. All of a sudden, 5 trees turns into 20. Those 20 trees, holy shit. Now you got rid of the axe. You have now stepped way up. That's an even bigger skill set. But listen, I'm going to kind of speed run through some of this. So stick with me if you can. That chainsaw has a lot more moving parts. It's not just sharpening a blade, right? You have to take care of the engine. You have to take care of the actual teeth on the actual saw or on the chain itself. You have to keep it sharp. You got to keep it running. You got to fuel it. You got to put oil in it, all that stuff. So understand, as the skill set gets deeper, it's more dense. There's more there. It's a lot more than just a surface level tool like an axe. So where you have differentiated yourself from the everyman to the lumberjack was you getting the axe and you sharpening it. But where you're getting better is now you're in a pool of people with axes. You're in a pool of lumberjacks with a mass range of skills. Everybody's in there with an axe. Okay, well, how the hell do I stand out with all these guys with an axe? Get the chainsaw. Figure out how to have a chainsaw and use it. Okay, now we're in that field, right? Now it's a smaller field. Not as many people have chainsaws. All those people with axes are behind you. But you got to take care of that chainsaw, man. You can't just let that thing be the one. It will fall apart. It will run out of gas. Understand you need to learn how to take care of that. You need to know how to do it. From there, let's just go even a step further. From that chainsaw, now you're sitting here doing chainsaw. You're still in a sea of people that have chainsaws, right? We're still a lumberjack. We just have a more refined tool that gets more done. It gets more done in a faster way. Okay. Well, what are we doing next? Well, listen, that chainsaw works great, but you're still just a human walking around with that chainsaw. I got this big ass machine here. It will literally grab the tree, cut it down, pull it, and strip it all in one shot. And you're just running it. Now listen, I want you to understand something. This machine is extremely complicated. It's also worth a ton of money. That machine that will grab that tree and cut it, you'll go from doing 20 trees in a day to you can, if you're in a field big enough, you can do about 100 a day. So you have now absolutely just blown up your output, your results. The amount of trees you're chopping down a day is exponential to when you just had the axe. You are very specialized. There's only a certain type of person that's going to call you to bring your big machine that you know how to run up and clear this forest out. There's not many people that know how to do that. But again, it's the same thing though. Everything else gets more dense. The complications of the machine that you have to take care of are just infinitely more complicated as well. There's so many different systems and so many different pieces that make this machine run. And honestly, chances of you being able to absolutely run every bit of this machine yourself, which you can do, but it's more time. You need to learn all these different intricacies to the machine itself. And if you're doing every one single piece of the thing, you can't do anything until you've finished. So that's when you could start to look at, people to help you maintain your machine. Obviously, I'm starting to talk about a business, but that's on. So now we're going to come back. That's what you're shooting for. As you start to find yourself wandering through the woods, if you have a tool and you enjoy it, how do you make that tool better? How do you make it more efficient? How do you leverage that tool and yourself to make more? Well, let's see. You sharpen it. Okay. Was there a better tool out there? Yeah, there's a chainsaw. Okay, how do you do that? I want it to run more efficiently. I want to keep it running at its optimal state. So you want to keep learning all the time. There's never a time you shouldn't be learning at this point. You have a machine you have a chainsaw that, a good amount of people have, but not everybody. So how does your chainsaw be better? It runs more efficiently. I'm ready more often. My chainsaw is newer than everybody else. My knowledge is greater. It's vaster. It's newer. It's more applicable to today's needs. And then from there, again, if it seems right, and some people just hang out with the chainsaw, let's be real. Some people never evolve past it, and that's fine. Again, this is about finding your spot and finding your future, nobody else's. But as this goes on and you start to see different things, and you want to remove yourself from the day-to-day use of that tool, start to look at the machine. Start to understand how to operate a machine. Again, costs are higher. Everything is exponentially greater at that point. Output is 100x times better than the axe. But also the time involved in the machine, the attention to the machine, the money being put into the machine is also quite a bit more than just the axe. But not everybody has a machine. Anybody can buy the axe. So that was what I told my client. It was, listen, just start there. Start at who you are right now. What are the skills you have or don't have? And what are you wanting? Like, what are you wanting out of your life? What are some of the things that you love more than anything? For me, it was my kids. That's what started me towards the path of, okay, well, what do I want with my kids? What do I wish I had with my kids? What do I wish my time was like? Because I wish I had something with my kids more than what I do right now. Again, that starts to answer itself. Then you start to explore different pathways, different areas of what might lead you to that. And I want to be really clear right now. This can be used towards anything. This can be used towards buying the home. This can be used towards creating the new job. This can be used towards finding the new hobby. Finding the next person that's going to be in your life. I mean, it's all of it. It's just that at the end of the day, remember, the skills, tools, are what make the lumberjack. Otherwise, you're just a man wandering in the woods for no reason. Something to think about. Okay, well, that was what I wanted to speak on the divorce side of things. That was something that, oh shit, it helped me out so much. Super, super clear. And it answers so many questions. And it starts to head you in a path that has clarity. And it sets you up for a journey that, you can handle yourself, that doesn't need 30 different people telling you what to do or what you shouldn't do. Because there will be a ton of people that want to tell you what you should do and shouldn't do and how to do everything. And exactly this because it's their system. And remember, it's their lottery ticket they're trying to sell you. Fuck all that. Use some sort of framework and apply your life within it. And don't rush into some bullshit that somebody's pitched you. It's garbage. You know, a little off track there, but whatever. But that's just it. Make sure you're designing your life around your terms and not somebody else's. Speaking of which, so I'm starting this new cycle now as far as the workout goes. I'm doing the different types of exercises, as you can tell. We finished off the last one last week, the end of the day. On Sunday, I didn't record that one. It was just me working out at the end of the day. And like I said in that one video, or in past videos actually, I'm not so interested in like specifically making this about fitness. It's just kind of a side piece that helps me get my thoughts out. And honestly, it's something great for you guys too. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully it helps you just take action and get more fit for yourself and your future family if you don't have one already, or for your kids or for your future girlfriend, spouse, whatever it may be. But you will be better when you feel better and you just physically are more able. But from there, I've changed this up as far as what I'm doing. So like abs, you saw earlier in the video that I was laying on the ground with my feet up. So you saw that's what I'm gonna be doing now. The reps might be a little higher there because it's not as weighted. I can grab a plate and put it on my chest if I need to. I don't need to yet. The reason I'm doing that one specifically though is because in the last cycle I was doing hanging leg raises. And one thing you gotta understand is until you got a really, really good control of all your different muscle groups and body parts, your hip flexors will want to kick in a lot on ab exercises. Anything leg raise, decline sit-ups, all those kinds of things, your hip flexors get so involved, it's insane. And a lot of people don't realize that they are getting over developed. They will start to take over the movement. So your abs aren't actually getting the work. So by putting my legs up on an elevated surface, pulling my hip flexor out of the movement already, it's literally just my core. That is creating my upper body, my shoulder section to come off the ground and roll into myself. And the way I like to think is my breastbone right here, right as where the chest comes together, I think about that sandwiching together to like my belly button or my hips. I think about that gap coming together. I don't think about my chest coming up to my knees. Think about that and here closing together. That's what I'm trying to touch. Obviously it's not going to touch, but that's what keeps my abs, my midsection actually engaged and keeps my hip flexors out of it by raising them up. So from there, once I got those done, I'm still doing 4 sets because I want to still try to get my total working sets in for the week for the minimum average volume that I need. Minimum effective volume to where, or adaptative, gosh dang, I'm just getting all my shit wrong. But the minimum adaptative volume, so something that's forcing my muscles to grow. I'm still sticking with the 2 RIR, 2 reps in reserve. I'm getting to that last rep and trying to push it right to the edge to where I can't do 1 or 2 more. That's how I understand I'm getting close to that failure, and that's what's pushing the stimulus to my muscles to grow. Still doing that. The rep ranges, honestly, I haven't set them quite yet. I'm probably going to be, so since I was at 6 to 12, which I normally was 6 to 10 in that last one, I'm probably going to bump it up to 8 to like 15-ish. So 8 to 15, I'm going to try to be on that higher side. But like barbell bicep curls, I'm going to be closer to that 8 range. I know I am. So I have my window that I'm at. That's what I'm shooting for. So as I'm starting to change some of these up, that's what we're seeing. But on the back, you saw I was on the chest supported. Let me get through this and we'll talk a little bit more about that. As you can see, that last rep, especially the last rep, I had a little bit of cheat going on there. I want to make sure I got that one more in just so I didn't leave anything on the table. Back exercise I'm doing is a chest supported row. The reason I'm doing that is because in the last cycle I was running for these workouts, I did a bent over row. Bent over rowing here. Kind of the same motion. You think about it, I'm chest supporting here, but the thing was I had a lot of stress on my back. I'm hanging over myself. Hamstrings, lower back had to hold on to everything. The posterior chain had to support it all. And before that was a body weighted pull up. Again, the body was involved. There's a lot of different types of weights. So now I want to go to more of a machine-like movement. And I wanted to go to a dumbbell and a supported system. So it's just the back working. I don't have to worry about my lower back trying to stabilize anything. It's just, I'm here, my core is tight, and I'm able to row through the motion. That's why I went that route, trying to change up the stimulus a little bit. And some people would say, well, you're doing the same motion. It's still a row just like it was before. Blah, blah, blah. Who gives a shit? Ultimately, I'm trying to change up how I did things. And, like I said, one supported, one wasn't. I knew I was doing so many different, I had to have worked multiple muscles to get that one exercise done. It's very compound. That's what I was looking for, compound movement. So yeah, I'm just going to, like I did before, I'm just work my way down that list. I used to, actually I might do the rear and side delts. What was I doing before? Chest supported. I did the overhead press before for shoulder. Chest supported flies, I think. I'm going to do these over here now for that. Over here to the rear delt / side delts. Now, one thing here. Obviously I have a cable machine. That is my advantage right now. That's why I suggest going to a gym, because these things are available there. You will see videos where I start going to a gym. I know a lot of the local gyms that I'm around don't really like videos, so we'll see if I'm able to film on them or anything like that, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to. But I will go to a gym again eventually, but right now it's just not what I want to do. So for this shoulder exercise, I'm going to be pulling across here. So the one thing I like to do is I think about it as pulling the sword out of the sheath, out of its container across my body here, and I'm pulling up with the elbow throughout, which will be more of the rear delt. I'm pulling out, pointing it towards the sky. And that is what the motion is here. A little bit different than what you may be used to. This can be done on a bench as well. A little bit harder with a dumbbell because it's hard to get the dumbbells in a smooth motion, but you can do it. I'll show you that here in a second, to be honest. This one's good. You want to start out low, though. It's a full range of motion. You want to make sure your rotator cuff is warmed up. You don't want to overdo this. Do both sides. And you feel this, especially in this 8 to 15 range. This is also assuming you guys are doing proper warm-up. Like I said, this isn't really, the main focus here isn't the fitness, but one thing I will say right now is on the fitness side of things, make sure you're warm. Like I said, the rotator cuff is something that you should be paying attention to. It is something that you should warm up appropriately. Like I said, I've done some other exercises here. Blood is flowing. I did do a warm-up before I got the camera on. There's really not much to say or do at that point. Also, if I do decide to talk about our subjects today while I'm doing the warm-up, well, then the whole video ends up being like an hour and a half long, which is not what we want. Let me show you real quick on a bench. If you don't have the cable, set your bench up, kind of relatively high incline. And this is where it's kind of tough. You'll need a lightweight. I'm going to just literally show it with 5s, which is basically nothing. And these Bowflex ones. So, the number one, you got to figure out what's comfortable here. So for me, I like to put my inside leg down and keep my outside leg here. So see this same motion? In the pocket, the sword is in the sheath. Pulling it out. A little bit different of an action. Feels way different than the cable. Honestly, now that I'm doing this will be at a later point. That will be an exercise I throw in at a later point on the dumbbell side, because it works different muscles. It helps with stabilizers. But that is how you could do it now with dumbbells if you don't have the cable machine. I'm going to stick with the cable right now, though. That's what we started with. Again, lightweight, right? It's like you don't have to do the world. Nobody gives a shit. I promise you that. The only time anybody cares is they don't even see you lifting weights. So now let me elaborate on that. The only time somebody gives a shit what you do in the gym is when you're actually not even in the gym. It's when you're on the beach, busting the shirt off, walking around in your swimsuit, and everybody's wondering, how the fuck's that dude that fucking ripped? God damn. They start to wish they had your life. They start to think, oh man, that would be nice. That must be nice. Damn, you got all the women looking at you. Maybe you brought your woman with you. You take care of yourself, chances are everyone's looking at her too, wondering how you got her. Why? Man, these two are fucking hot. I wonder what they look like naked. Remember? That look good naked diet. And that's the only other time anybody gives a shit. When you're busting them clothes off in the bedroom, there's only one person that cares at that moment, and that's her. She's wondering what you look like without them. And then when you break them off, it's better than she ever thought. That's when you know you're having a good time. That's when somebody cares. Those are the moments that somebody cares, and to think they don't even know what you lifted. They have no idea that you're only doing 20 pounds right now on the cable machine. They have no idea. All they know is how you look and how you're about to make them feel. That's all. So don't worry about the weight you're doing right now. Shit doesn't matter at all. At all. You're here for yourself. You're really only here for one thing. It's still yourself, but it's actually that future self. Because each one of those reps, every single step in that gym is one more brush stroke. One more brush stroke in that frame. That future self that you're creating. The one that has your dream life. The one that's happy daily because he's built everything he's wanted and acquired it all. He doesn't want for anything more because he's built what he wants, and what he wants is only what he needs and desires, not in a superficial way. Everything he has is because he knows he wants it, not because somebody else thinks it's cool or badass or gives him pride in having other people see his things. That shit doesn't matter. Don't get me wrong, that will happen. That will be a feeling. That will be a thing, but it is not the driver. It is not the reason for the pursuit. The pursuit is for the future. It's for yourself. It's for that future picture. Remember, every brushstroke, every motion today is a brushstroke for tomorrow. Just when you think you've painted that picture, you can't paint anymore. There's too much color on there. You'll realize real quick, oh shit, there's a whole nother pile of brushes I can use. I didn't even see these. Bigger brushes, smaller brushes, wider brushes, sharper brushes, more detail. More paint, more ink, more canvas. The frame expands. It feels so good. Every single step, every single decision, every single motion today is painting that picture. Damn, it feels good. Let's say, guys, right here. This is my last set. I will say there's one disadvantage to the cables here at home, specifically for me. At the gyms, they usually have these little rubber deals you can put on here that'll add, 5, maybe 2.5 pounds. For me at home, it jumps up in 10-pound increments. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So when I'm doing these, I have to pay attention to my reps and try to really reach for that one more. And again, I don't really give a shit how much weight I'm doing. I don't care. Because I know how I look like without any of this. I know the woman I was able to attract without any of this on. She doesn't care how much weight I'm doing. She doesn't give a shit at all. But I'm connected to myself here, and I understand that maybe that last rep isn't a full rep. Maybe it's a half rep. It's getting through it. There's 8. Breathe it out. See? There it is, pushing to that limit. I couldn't do one more. Eight. 9. All right, man. That's it for today. I'm going to mark this down on the board. Pick you up over all this. Hope you're not getting dizzy. Here, our board looks the same, right? Nothing else has to change. This doesn't have to be a hard situation. Make it simple. Oh, God, that is the worst right to get over. My shoulders are fried. Okay, here we go. 4 sets. On a Monday. It's not bad. All right, man. Till next time, it's Chase Kick with Divorced Dom. It's, again, the email will be at the bottom of the description. If you have questions, if you want to talk, if you want to tell me I'm a fucking idiot, I don't really care. Let's just talk. Let's start the dialogue. Let's start to converse here a little more. I want this to turn into a little bit more of a community and not... I love my one-on-one clients. I do. It's fun. But I do hope that we can all help each other. That's why this content's just getting out there. It's for everybody. All right, man. Till next time.